Democratic Congresswoman Clarke represents New York's 11th district, which is in Brooklyn, and we thank you for stopping by here on your way to see Mother on this Mother's Day. What do you make of this news? And if true, are there consequences that the country of Pakistan should face?
Well, I think if true, we need to really have a stern conversation with Pakistan. They have been somewhat of an ally in the fight against terrorism, but certainly they need to be upgrading their tactics to make sure that we can weed out all of these terrorist cells that reside right there in Pakistan. The Taliban is on the move, and we're hearing of other offshoot groups, such as the TTP.
But what can the U.S. really do? Because, as you said, they have worked with us, certainly to a degree, and it's not like military intervention, that kind of a threat would be anything that I think the people of the United States would stomach.
That's right, and I don't think that it's necessary. I think we need to establish a true partnership with them, sharing some of our best practices in terms of counterterrorism with them, making sure that their intelligence agencies are up to snuff to be able to weed out these groups. And when that fails, we need to look at what other measures can be used to really apply the pressures to them.
You have a somewhat unique perspective because you are the only member serving on the Homeland Security Committee that is from New York City.
That's right.
So do you approach things a bit differently than your colleagues?
I don't know that I approach it differently, but I certainly feel like I have an ownership stake in making sure that nothing occurs in New York City. You know, I am constantly fighting to make sure that people remember New York City is the #1 terrorist target, because oftentimes everyone wants to sort of pile in. And you know, we want to keep our nation safe, but in reality, we have to look at who has the highest risk and apply the appropriate tools and resources accordingly. And New York City certainly #1.
And it absolutely is. And Michael Sheehan, our resident terrorism analyst, was just saying since 9/11, there have been 30 thwarted attacks, 10 of which, though, have centered around New York City.
That's right. That's
those
correct.
are the stats to prove that right there. Senator Kit Bond is the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he says that Attorney General Eric Holder refused to brief senators on the bomb attempt. He says that Holder is obstructing Congress. The Justice Department's denying all this. At this point, have you and your committee been briefed on everything you think you need to know to move forward?
I mean, it's an ongoing investigation, and I think we all need to bear that in mind. We've got to give government and its agencies the opportunity to gather as much accurate intelligence as they possibly can. We've had an initial briefing. There'll be ongoing briefings, and there'll be multiple hearings, just to make sure that we learn from this particular incident and that we provide, again, the appropriate oversight, resource, and ability to our agencies to do the work that needs to be done.
I'm curious in regard to this car bomb attempt of last weekend. Is it the opinion of the Homeland Security Committee that the system worked in getting Faisal Shahzad, or that it was a lot of luck? Or does luck have to be incorporated into thwarting terrorism?
I'd say that luck has to be incorporated in it. To a certain degree, the system worked, in the sense that we were able to mitigate circumstances by having the appropriate resources here with the NYPD, the counterterrorism task force. All of those things worked appropriately, including the civilian participation, which is the see something, say something piece that we've been really promoting here in New York City. And that's always going to have to be the case when you have incidents that can take place in such a populous location like New York. We're going to need citizen participation to keep us safe. But the information sharing that is required still needs to be addressed and needs to be worked upon when it comes to our government agencies.
Do you think we're ever going to be able to fully plug up all the holes? Lone terrorists like this, lone wolves.
Yeah, you know, I think that we can do the very best that we can, but ultimately it's going to take a full court press to address all of these vulnerabilities. With lone wolves, you never know what the circumstances will bring.
That's true. All right, Democratic Congresswoman Clarke of Brooklyn, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your Mother's Day with your mom.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Alex.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Meantime,